granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello, I watched the Spectator TV, the latest one, this morning, and I was struck by a couple of issues they brought up. And I have to say, particularly by a disgustingly self-satisfied Trevor Phillips, who at the beginning of the video, when they were talking about shoplifters, I'm not going to go into that one, but they were talking about the fact that people don't seem to have any shame anymore, and people shoplift or walk through underground barriers without paying, jump over them or whatever. And Trevor Phillips said, well, I wouldn't accost. He didn't use the word accost, but it was something like that. I wouldn't accost one of these people shoplifting or jumping over the barrier because you never know what they've got in their bag. Well, you know what? I would, and I do. Well, that's probably why I'm the sort of person who's making these videos as well. But Trevor Phillips is a great, big, strong man, and I'm 5'1". And I will say something to people like that. I won't go up and try and punch them on the nose. Well, not unless they try and punch me first. But I have had 3 sons. Believe me, I can pack quite a punch even at my age. Right, so, but that was the point. I mean, he wouldn't get involved, and he used the possibility of violence as an excuse. But there's a point at which people will use any excuse to justify their own cowardliness, and their lack of social responsibility. And that's what I think Trevor Phillips was doing. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. He shouldn't have said that. And he should be the sort of person that will say something. And if other people say something, it usually only takes one. I have mentioned this before. I once did freeze up in a bad situation, and I knew I should have said something, and I didn't. And nobody else in the bus did either, and they were just sort of, clinging to their belongings and sitting there in this frozen, embarrassed silence. And all it would have taken was one person to say something, and the whole situation of the bullying I saw going on would have stopped. Because bullies are cowards, aren't they? That's the two go together. Anyway, and then Trevor Phillips said something else that was equally stupid and self-satisfied and smug in a similar way. So I'm going to talk about that. I've really got it in for Trevor Phillips today, haven't I? So they are discussing here, as you can see, well over halfway through the show, they're talking about pensions and the triple lock and just generally the welfare state, which has got beyond control, they say. So this is what they're saying. 26, what number? 26. That's about right. Okay. So please listen to this. Hang on. I just want to make sure I have the right microphone. Yep, there we go. All right, listen to this.
To say, no, this is wrong.
But somebody explain this to me. I can't get this. I am a person in receipt of a pension. And if you were to say to me, do you want that extra, whatever it is, to go to you, or do you want it to go to somewhere where, your grandson, who will be going to university and however long it is before he gets to university, 13, 14 years, can get assistance because we're creating a baby bond system or something like that? I'm instantly going to say, give it to him.
Okay. And while that sounds reasonable, it's completely wrong for this reason. Well, I think most of you will probably immediately will have thought of the same thing. It's not that this man, Trevor Phillips in this case, has a choice about whether the money goes to him or to his grandson at some future date. Most of the people listening to this video will immediately think, yeah, but if it doesn't go to Trevor Phillips, how do we know it's going to end up with the kid in a few years? Because the government will waste it on something stupid, will waste it on rubbish. And maybe I thought of that because I am considering more to do another video about wastage and institutional bullying in the National Health Service, because I came across this gem here. This was an X post. NHS fingerprinted a doctor for reporting a colleague who was injecting drugs on duty. Dr. Patricia Mills was an anaesthetist at West Suffolk Hospital. In 2017, she saw a colleague injecting himself with drugs while looking after patients. She raised the alarm. The NHS's response was to investigate her. Management hired handwriting experts and fingerprint analysts to work out who had been tipping off a grieving family about a potentially botched operation. Now, handwriting experts, fingerprint analysts, they cost a lot of money, don't they? The operation was botched, and I suppose it's Dr. Mills who told the family that there was a problem with the doctor who'd been doing the job. They narrowed the suspect list down to 7 doctors. 4 of them had one thing in common. They had all previously raised concerns about the self-injecting colleague. Dr. Mills was among them. She was off sick for 6 months. She said she thought she was going to lose a 30-year career. The drug-injecting doctor continued to practice for years after her original disclosure. That should be spelt with an S, by the way, it's a verb. When Dr. Mills turned to the National Guardian's office, I've never heard of that, the body specifically set up to protect NHS staff who speak up, she said its response was, in her words, literally useless. The CEO who ordered the fingerprinting resigned when it became public. Meanwhile, the money had been spent. The NHS just wastes money. And wasting not only on tracking down the doctor here, but they were paying this doctor a salary, which was also a waste. So to recap, doctor raises a patient safety concern, hospital spends public money trying to unmask her, she gets sick, the wrongdoer keeps working, the regulator does nothing. And 3 years later, a review says, yeah, she was right all along. Sorry about that. Right, and these are the sources. BBC News, The Telegraph, Patient Safety Learning. It's not a made-up story. It has solid provenance. Now, that's one story. When I saw this, I asked AI Overview, how much did the NHS spend on the Upton Peggie court case? That was a case, if you're out of the country, didn't hear of it, Nurse Peggie, a female, Sandy Peggie, was changing in the nurses' changing room next to the A&E, the emergency room, the A&E department where she worked on Christmas Eve. And a doctor, who shouldn't have been in the nurses' changing room anyway, who identified as a woman, was standing there getting changed himself, or just standing there, I don't know, watching Nurse Peggie getting undressed, changing clothes. It was even worse. She had her monthly period and there was a bit of a mess. And he was standing there watching her while she was dealing with the situation. And she said to him, you shouldn't be here. And next morning he was at his line officer's office weeping into a handkerchief and saying that Nurse Peggie had been threatening him and he felt unsafe and insecure, and the whole thing went to court. As of September 2025, the legal battle in the case of Peggie versus NHS Fife and Dr. Beth Upton had cost NHS Fife at least £320,000. I could do with £320,000 in legal fees, with the total rising significantly over the course of the year. So this is money that the NHS had, which they wasted on prosecuting and persecuting a nurse, a female nurse, who objected to a man standing in her changing room. And his reason for being there was he was wearing a frock. And that was it. So, and I want to show you something else. This was a photograph taken by one of my subscribers. He sent it to me. This is on the other side of a road crossing from the car park towards the hospital he was visiting. Now, this is a road sign. Road signs aren't bits of cardboard. That will be metal. It'll have been cut and made by a specific process and screwed onto this metal stake, and they would all have had to have been made to the highest specifications. After all, you don't want a sheet of metal flying off in the wind and beheading somebody, do you? It might be an office manager. I mean, you can't have that. So this whole thing, the pride, and there would have been some process as well. Can we put it there? You know, a whole committee meeting and probably an architect's drawing or at least an engineer's drawing about placement. I reckon something like that could have cost £2,000. It could have been a lot more, £3,000 or £4,000. It's just amazing the sort of prices that people charge public concerns, public businesses for things like that. Why would they put it there? Well, some office manager will put it there and then every time he or she comes out of the car park will see that there and think, I did that. Whereas getting another wheelchair for somebody who needs a wheelchair, they never see the wheelchair. They can say to people, I put up a pride crossing near the car park. Everyone can see it in all sorts of colours. That's the problem. It's not that the money will not go to Trevor Phillips and will go to his grandson. No, it won't go to Trevor Phillips, and it'll get frittered away on some cock-brained idea of some minor manager who wants to make his mark on the world. That's the problem. So if government offers you money, just grab it, because it's going to be wasted. It might be wasted on you, but it's going to be wasted for sure. So you might as well take it. That's what I say. That's what happens. And God knows how much they spent on this. Fingerprinting and handwriting analysing, because somebody told them there was something wrong. That's the NHS again. That's the problem with the NHS. There are too many managers and offices and too many people with little empires to finance. But of course it's not just that. It's just we see it. We can see it in the NHS. We don't see it in the pensions department or anything. That's a bit dry and a bit dusty and a bit out of the public view. But it'll be there too. Right, well, yeah, that's it. I just thought I'd share that little gem from Trevor Phillips with you. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.